Welcome to VCOP 13. We are so excited to introduce to you the creators of Vegan Dungeons and Dragons. For years, Ray Kowalczyk and Kelly have made climate healers a central part of their lives as animal rights and climate activists in Toronto, Canada. They use their media and food skills to promote systemic change and are now joined by their son, Ethan Kowalczyk, who this week has completed both his university degree in game development and an animal liberation themed Dungeons and Dragons game that will be played for the first time here and now with players attending this VCOP summit. Welcome, take it away.
This is so exciting. Oh my gosh, first ever. This is so cool.
I know.
Hi, I'm Ray Kowalczyk. This is my wife Kelly and my son Ethan. As mentioned, he's just finished his gaming degree, and we're really excited to launch Vegan Dungeons and Dragons, called Vegan D&D, at Vegan D&D on social media. I've had a career in television as a video editor. Kelly's a food activist, and we're now engaged in a new venture called Play Nice Games. And we want to try to motivate people to examine the violence in gaming and recognize an importance for our future to be non-violent. Games like Dungeons and Dragons are obviously very swords and sorcery. It's very much involved in violence. And we want to try to find that vegan option, right? Find that new style of playing game and engaging media in ways that they might contain violence. We know that violence is a very easy way of telling a story and creating drama, but I think vegans have that ability to see violence in a different way, and especially violence against animals and the systemic oppression in our worlds. And we want to play that through our games. We want to try to take things like Dungeons and Dragons, which is very conversational, very cerebral, lots of talking, as opposed to video games that just kind of have things coming at you and you react to them. This is a very interactive and engaging with people in conversations over tables like this. So this is an exciting way to bring stories to the gaming world, especially that community that's very much about escapism. Right? They try to escape from the world, go into your fantasy world, and ignore all of the problems that we face. But I think this is an opportunity to engage that escapism and talk about really serious issues. The best fantasy always reflects our real lives and changes the way that we live. We've, over the past year, developed this one-shot adventure, which means that we're going to try to get it all the way from beginning to end. Dungeons and Dragons quite often is the sort of thing you play every other week. People get together and they play for 3 or 5 hours. So we're going to try to do this as a demonstration. It won't be exactly like how you typically play Dungeons and Dragons, which has maps and figurines that help to visualize the adventure. This will be a little bit more verbal. We're going to concentrate on the action and the gaming. And it's going to feature characters that are non-violent, that have made an oath to non-violence, similar to what a modern animal rights activist would do. Obviously, modern animal rights activism isn't violence-oriented. We're not fighting literally for the rights of animals, but we're setting it in a world that is violent, that is going to resist our attempts at changing this fantasy realm. But because we've taken an oath of non-violence, we're not going to kill anybody in this adventure. And I think we should get into it quickly. Let's introduce some of the characters that are going to be involved in this campaign.
Yeah, okay, so we have Sue here. Have you ever played D&D? And if so, for how long?
Never.
And I'm excited. I really want to do that.
And Sue is playing Porcelain the Bard.
Yep.
So Porcelain is modeled after Moby.
Yay!
So Sue is going to be playing Fantasy Moby.
Yes. To interject, all of our characters are based off of real-life vegan
actors,
celebrities.
yes.
So if we don't explicitly say who it's based off of, try to guess.
And then we have 3QM. And who is your character today?
Wolf Icehammer. He's a mountain dwarf based on... I'm bad at saying his name.
Patrick Baboobian. So 3QM's playing Patrick today.
Yeah.
Kathy, can you introduce your character?
Hi, I'm Kathy, and I have not played D&D before. 2 of my adult sons play it, but I've never played it before. And I will be Mafanwe Allgood, who works with apes. So do the math on who I am modeled after.
All good.
Yeah.
Squirks is another one of the players.
Hello.
What's the name of your character?
Sir Finch Trask.
And this is a character that's based on Peter Dinklage. And he's a paladin.
Yeah.
And have you played D&D? And if so, for how long?
I used to play campaigns as a kid, and I would make random characters, and I've been playing it for like 5 years.
Great.
Excellent.
Well, Sailesh is one of our players too.
Celeste, you have your character in front of you?
Yes. Well, I haven't played D&D at all, so it's going to be new to me. And I'm playing the character Vega, the climate healer. Guess who that's based off of? Yeah.
Sailesh's character is a tabaxi ranger. So that's a kind of a cat-like creature, and it was inspired by his tiger face paint at the Asheville Vegan Fest.
Oh.
And his passion for correcting the ecological damage done to India and the tiger population because of dairy in particular. What's the connection between dairy and tigers? One other character that we got is Roz. And which character are you playing?
I'm playing Twin Ash Risen.
And it's a bit of a multiple role because you have a familiar, an animal companion that is a baby phoenix.
Well, if it isn't already obvious, it's based on Walking Phoenix.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to put our dungeon master, Ethan, in his position, and we'll get started. Swap. And we've got some delicious food here because that's the role of the DM's mom to make sure that everybody is fed. So we've got some vegan cheeses here from local vegan cheese companies. Lots of other goodies.
All right. So, a long time ago, in an age before science became the foundation of our understanding, the worlds were steeped in magic, a web of arcane power that wizards wrested for their control, and fountains of divine magic that flowed from the pantheons of gods and goddesses through their believers. Either gradually or all at once, this enchanted existence separated from the earth that we know, its memory fading into myth and legend. There still exists portals to the Forgotten Realms, through which a party primed for adventure may have their imaginations led specifically, equipped by tour guides, and they are called Dungeon Masters, which is me. The medieval times of the Forgotten Realms persists, dangerous and feudal, terrible and magnificent. The continent of Faerûn is a chessboard of powerful beings that considers themselves gods, though they suffer the ego and hubris of us mortals. They compete for the portfolios of personified virtues and vices, such as truth and lies, justice and tyranny, mercy and suffering. The pawns of the melodrama are the peoples, humans cloistered in their towns and cities, certainly, but also the elves of the forest, the dwarves of the mountains, and the halflings of the countryside, and many more. Set apart are species of, quote, monsters, a word that suggests their demotion. Indeed, each creature branded, quote, evil may be a dragon, ogre, orc, and may be slain for the cause of, quote, good. In the Forgotten Realms, 5 factions have arisen to prominence. These factions seek to further their own aims while opposing destructive forces that threaten the folk of Faerûn. Each faction has its own motivations, goals, and philosophies. Some are more heroic than others, but all band together in times of trouble to thwart major threats. The Convergence is a secret society that consists of like-minded splinter factions who seek to dismantle hierarchies of oppression through advocacy for animals and these, quote, monsters. Though their methodologies and spheres of influence differ, they share a common creed of universal harmony that only comes through the exaltation of Eldath, the personified goddess of peace. In a domain literally created for battle, Eldath is known as the Quiet One, but the Convergence serves her will faithfully that they will not take the lives of any sentient being. In return, they are empowered with the fortitude of the non-violent in the violent world, and are rewarded with hope that the Forgotten Realms may find enlightenment after all. Today, you are a party of adventurers diverse in race, skill, ambition, bonded through the common recognition that animals, and those fantastic species that polite society identify as monsters, would live rich, meaningful lives by their own measures and instinct, were they not trapped in the systemic structures that exploit, neglect, or eradicate them. You remain loyal to your faction, whether you are an idealist harper, a nature lover of the Emerald Enclave, a righteous vigilante of the Order of the Gauntlet, or a resourceful trader in the Lord's Alliance, at least until their objectives exploit or abuse animals or monsters. It was not long ago that you were strangers, summoned from the furthest reaches of Faerûn to the archipelago kingdom of Tharsalt. Whether you knew of the Convergence splinter in your faction or not, they were aware of you. Their radical rejection of animal husbandry and promotion of monster rights has driven the Convergence literally underground, into the catacombs of the city of Imreth. After completing initiation quests, you are accepted into your Convergent faction, whose combined strength with the other Convergents to scout, plan, and execute missions to liberate sentient beings from their captors and abusers. Now on to our quest. You are an agent of the Convergent Lords Alliance and have just received an assignment through the chain of command. You are being deployed to Duskwood Estates, a private island owned by a lumber magnate and former paladin, Lord Petard Goodwind. The Knights of the Order of Tai are the muscle who protect the trade routes of the Lords Alliance, often from their opposing faction, the cutthroat industrialists, the Zentarum. Goodwind, already of a wealthy family from the Sword Coast, has retired from the Order of Tai and bought an island in the Bryca River. The Duskwood Estate is named after the trees that forest the island, which Goodwind mills into masts for the shipyards in Imreth. The island is serviced by a ferry that hauls timber across the river, as well as the estate staff and supplies. The operator of the ferry works for the Lords Alliance, but is secretly loyal to the Convergence, to whom she had scrawled a message. Simply stating, "Thinking animals in Duskwood crates." Signed, Antonina Ferryman. It is not clear whether Ferryman thinks that there are animals in the cargo or that she means that there are thinking animals, that is, sentient, but it has raised suspicions that Lord Goodwin may be involved in either inhumane animal transportation or illegal trade of protected species. A return message instructed her to meet with you tonight after the ferry's last crossing. You are to clarify her claims, and if she can grant you safe conduct to the island, make a solo reconnaissance for the animals in distress. However, it is safer to travel in numbers, so you've invited your companions, with whom you have completed many of quests given by the Convergence. With their broad set of skills at hand, you may be able to enact a rescue operation if you discover any animal in captivity. However, as per the Convergence law, you may complete the mission however you see fit, but you may not take a life. It is a long walk to the Duskwood Ferry, but you are used to it. Agents of the Convergence neither ride on animals as mounts nor use them for draft. The hard-packed and rutted roads follows the contours between the hills and eventually sides up with the Bryca River, which lives up to its drover's translation, fast. The swift current ripples the surface between the rocky shores, which are perhaps a quarter-mile apart. You begin to discern Duskwood Island as the trees for which it is named are distinctly different in shape and color from the birch and poplar on the opposite bank. Some areas of the island have geometric bare patches from the forestry, while others are in the lighter green of seedlings. You see the piles of logs before you as you get to the ferry, their cut ends flush in a wall that lines the road. The druid in your party laments each life form, fallen for the sake of industry. Set atop the highest rise of the island, you see Duskwood Manor, the home of Lord Petard Goodwind. The short towers topped with battlements suggest that this personal residence was designed with castle in mind, and it would be rather defensible if, for some reason, some force decided to set siege upon a lumber baron. The Duskwood trees create a formidable backdrop behind the estate house. Further north, a lumber mill is silent for the evening. Using the piles as cover, you close the distance to the ferry dock, a small pier constructed of the same wood including a sturdy mooring tower, from which a thick cable spans the 1,000 feet to a similar dock and tower on the island. To the cable is tethered a ferry boat, and by a second cable, taut from the pull of the river's current. A cart with a team of 2 oxen stand before the boat, but there seems to be an optical illusion that makes you doubt their full scale. 2 copper-haired humanoids are hoisting tree-sized logs, one on each end, onto the cart. They appear to be a bearded male and a female, both in overalls, and compared to the presumably standard-sized oxen and the human in the cart's driver's seat, they must stand at least 8 feet tall. The oxen drag the loaded cart onto the ferry boat, and the huge laborers climb aboard, rocking the craft under their weight. Another human figure appears from a tiny cabin on the ferry. This must be Antonina Ferryman, your Convergent contact. She pulls a long lever that extends through the bottom of the boat from one side to the other. It must be a rudder as the boat changes its orientation and begins to move from the shore. My Fanwei, as a druid, I would like you to roll a intelligence check, a d20.
Okay.
So I rolled 11.
Perfect. On your character sheet, you could see skills. So for nature, you have a +2, so you would add +2 to your roll. So for 13 total. As a druid, you would know that these duskwood trees that grow on this island are not native to this area. So either there is some form of natural phenomenon going on, or these trees were planted here with a specific purpose in mind. After about 10 minutes, Antonina Faerûn moors the boat to the near shore and raises a hinged gate pole to permit the cart to disembark. You now see that the giant couple have broad noses and pink nostrils and floppy cow-like ears, as well as tails. You are certain that these are Firbolg, the most intelligent of the giant kin, rare outside of the Feywild, and even rare working at jobs. The driver speaks loudly to them in the common tongue. You could climb on the logs and take a ride into Emreth. The female Firbolg produces a barrel and hoists it as if making a toast to the mountains. Thanks, but no. He, his, and me, my house is that way. But first, we us are going to drink ale and watch the sunset. We us don't mind walking home in the dark. The Faerûn is noticeably alarmed, glancing in a direction of your hiding place. Are you sure she her? The sun is almost gone, hardly worth missing a ride. He, him shakes his head, and ears flapping. No, those oxen have enough of a load. You should have some ale with us. The ferryman tries to look casual as she looks around, and seems to appear right where you're hiding as if looking for you. Yes, that sounds grand. The Firbolg strides over to the log pile you are using for cover and sit down, crunching the tree trunks under their weight, and pop the barrel open. So now I'll leave the floor open to you. What would you like to do? You are currently hiding behind this pile of logs with two massive Firbolgs sitting right on top of it. They don't seem to notice you.
Can I pet the ox?
Would you like to come out of your hiding?
No, I shouldn't.
Alright.
So it seems our options at this point would be that we could stay hidden while they seem to be having a keg of ale.
Yes. If any of you have anything you would like to do, just let me know. But for the meantime, these two Firbolgs, as well as Antonina Faerûn, begin conversing.
I'll throw a rock
You can throw a rock?
You throw a rock.
the other way.
Alright.
Like just to distract them?
Distraction rock.
Okay.
I would like you to roll a sleight of hand check to see if you could do that without being seen.
What number?
So you would roll a d20 like before.
And let me pull open yours.
Nice.
17.
17 plus 2. 19. From the point of view of the Firbolgs, all you hear is sploosh in the river as they both look over. I would like everyone to make a stealth check as, while not looking in your direction, they may see you, so I would like everyone to roll the d20 plus whatever your stealth modifier is on your character sheet.
9. Okay, so Porcelain got 9.
9, alright.
I got a 20 minus 1.
Oh, nice.
I've got a 9 with my stealth.
Okay, Wolf has 9.
My Fanwei has 15 plus a 2
Perfect.
for stealth.
14 plus 1.
Nice.
15. And Vigo go what?
I rolled a 6.
Nope.
6, I can pull up your character sheet. 6 plus 5, so you have a very good stealth modifier, luckily. Overall, those pretty high, so you remain unseen by the Firbolgs. And you hear one of them go, "What was that? Was that a fish? These rivers are pretty fast. It might be a salmon." So both of them are currently looking over at the river, and Antonina Faerûn is looking quite nervous, but they have not gotten up. They are still sitting down and enjoying their ale, but now they are looking at the river, potentially to see any salmon passing by.
So they've got them distracted.
They are currently distracted looking at the river, and as well as their ale.
Can a turn to a fish?
Sadly, no.
She's 3rd level. You can't be a swimming creature until 4th level.
Yeah.
What can she turn into?
A lot of other animals. So
Yeah.
I don't know if any of them are handy at this point.
Could be distracting.
How would I get into the boat?
So currently you are on the dock with the piles of logs. You're hiding behind one of them. You can attempt to sneak onto the boat if you would like, especially with the furbolgs distracted. You might be able to sneak past them.
I'm going for it.
You're going for it?
Yeah.
All right.
Can I give you guidance?
Yes, you can. You can roll a d4. The pyramid-looking one. +2. So roll a d20. Let's comment that.
Let's see.
12.
12? 12 plus 2. 14 plus 2. So 16. I will roll a perception check for them. Ooh, they rolled an 18.
Okay.
So, as you get up from your hiding place, feeling quite stealthy, you take a step, and without making any sound, it just so happens that one of the furbolgs drops the keg of ale and stands up to pick it up, and as they turn around to sit back down, they just see you making a run for it for the dock, and they go, Wait, stop! What would you like to do?
I think they should have another drink of ale, and that'll slow them down. But
Can I throw another rock? In the
Okay.
You throw another rock?
Yeah.
Alright, roll a sleight of hand check.
Okay.
They are currently only aware of porcelain. Everyone else is huddled behind the opposite side of the logs. Try not to PC.
I have a +2 on my sleight of hand, I think.
2 plus 2.
Not great. As one of the furbolgs is walking after porcelain, you try to pick up a loose rock on the dock, and as you reach down for the dock, you stumble and create a ruckus, and the other furbolg looks behind them and sees the entire party crouched down behind the pile of logs, and they go, There's more!
Uh-oh.
I'll grapple someone, that's what I...
You'll grapple someone, okay. You are a 4'9" dwarf trying to take on a 8-foot furbolg.
you're going low, that's for sure. Yeah, taking them down by the knees.
My center of gravity is lower.
It is definitely possible.
Oh,
This
nice.
is the character based on Patrick Baboumian, so he's going to try to break the furbolg lifting record, the world record.
I would like you to roll a
Arrogance check.
an athletics check.
You got it. I got a 10 and my...
You have a +8 in athletics.
Oh.
Unfortunately, the furbolg also rolled pretty well. And as you emerge from beneath the logs and you run and you grab this furbolg, and surprisingly, you make it stumble, but the furbolg readies its back leg and holds strong and is unmoved by your grapple, and it just kind of pushes you off and says, Who are you? You're not allowed here. Don't hug me. Personal space.
It's still unclear whether this is a combat or a social encounter.
I'm peaceful. I'm just spreading hugs.
You say that out loud?
Hey, what's my charisma? Maybe I can...
Your charisma is 8, so you have a -1.
I don't think I could convince
Sweet talk your way out of that one, yeah.
Anyone else is allowed to jump in if you would like.
I could use an entanglement spell, but I don't know if I want to annoy them. I don't know how if they're dangerous to us or not.
Yeah, so they seem perplexed as to how you just appeared behind them, as they assumed that the dock was empty, so they were a bit frazzled by your sudden appearance, and what they see as a hug. They're initially just enjoying their ale and watching what they thought were salmon, while this dwarf appears and hugs them. So they are not in an aggressive stance, but they are definitely on guard. You're halfway towards the dock. The other furbolg with very long strides catches up to you easily and grabs your wrist and says, Who are you? Where are you going?
I was wanting to lead them through the, it's after dark, and I was hoping to help them out a little bit because it's, dark and scary out there, and so...
Help who?
You!
Me?
Yes! I see you've been drinking some ale.
Oh. One barrel
You seem
of
like
ale's
a
not that bad.
Oh, you seem like a wonderful...
Thank you, but I don't know you. Our home is that way. We don't live on the island.
Oh, well, not to be too bold, but would you mind showing me your home? I've always been very curious about your species. Not being
yeah.
a speciesist myself,
No, I hear that a lot. Us Furbolg folk are quite rare around these parts. Our home is pretty far away. I'm not sure if you would like to go there. But you're not allowed to get onto the island. That's private property. We were told by Lord Goodwin to keep people off.
So Antonina, the fairy woman, is our contact.
Yeah. Who, by the way, is just standing there wide-eyed, not saying a word, looking extremely concerned.
She was expecting us to arrive, just not expecting the Furbolgs to be hanging out and having a keg of beer.
So how should we get into this boat? What are we going to do? How do we get by these furbolgs?
What would you like to do?
Have a drink.
As a bard, you have some spells you could cast.
What would minor illusion be? Could she do something to distract them so they can get into the boat?
So minor illusion, you can create any illusion within a 5-foot cube. It can look like whatever it wants, but it cannot move and it cannot create sound.
So can she create a mirror so all of a sudden they're just looking at themselves or something?
How would that help?
So that they can disappear and get into the boat.
You have to do what you would like to do first before you know outcomes.
well,
what would you
along
like to
with
do?
what you've said, they're creating duplicates of
Oh,
us.
that's so smart.
They're looking, they can't tell which ones we really are.
With minor illusion, I believe the illusion
move.
cannot move and it cannot create any sound. Or you could choose to create a sound, but then there would be no visual.
Is there anyone that has good spells that would help?
I have a healing bolt. Would that work?
The healing bolt, you create a magical bolt from your bow, and whatever the bolt strikes, you heal them. So if anyone takes damage, you could heal them with that bolt.
Okay.
I have command, shield of faith, bless, heroism, and sanctuary. What does command do?
So command, you give a one-word command to a target creature, and if they fail their saving throw, then they have to comply to that command. So you could say any one-word command.
Well, since there's two of them, I don't think that would be a good idea.
You could only target one of them.
I'll wait.
All right.
I can use entanglement if everyone wanted to get out of the way.
So you would like to cast Entangle.
Yes.
All right. You cast Entangle. As you mutter this incantation, these seaweed vines come sprouting out from underneath the dock from the water and entangle around every creature within a 20-foot square on the dock, including your allies.
I warned my allies
Uh,
to get the heck out before I cast the spell.
would you like to wait a turn before you cast it?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, just so everyone can get out of the way, you mean?
Okay. So
Look out!
you say everyone out of the way. So that will be your turn, and I could say you're holding an action with Entangle, waiting for your allies to get out of the way. I would like everyone to roll initiative, a d20, and add your initiative bonus, which you could see in the top center of your character sheet.
Just for those who haven't played Dungeons & Dragons, initiative is trying to determine who's the quickest to react when there's an encounter. Everybody decides what to do in the order of their initiative roll.
I got 1 and I have a +2.
All right.
I got a 14 minus 1.
14 plus 2. 3.
Then it's
The Furbolgs rolled a 1, so they will be going last. So for the sake of brevity, I will say everyone will be able to get out of the way while the Furbolgs are looking around as all these people just start scattering. Antonina Faerûn also gets out of the way. She actually runs past everyone onto the ferry as you cast the Entangle spell. One of the Furbolgs is entangled. The other is as well. So, as everyone scatters, the two Furbolgs get wrapped up in these vines. Are going, wait, what?
We want to get on that boat.
All right. Everyone's running onto the boat. We're all in agreement. No one's trying to do anything creative. All right. As you get onto the boat, Faerûn, trying to remain out of sight from the Furbolgs, let's just quickly... Oh, yes, she does. She is inside the ferry. She pulls the lever and begins to move the boat across the river as the two Furbolgs are currently wrapped up in seaweed vines.
How long does that last? I'm worried about them.
As you are slowly moving away in the ferry, one of them bursts free from the vines and is yelling, "Wait! You're not allowed to do that!" The other also breaks free and picks up her barrel of ale and is waving out at you saying, "Wait, come back!"
They just want to have somebody to sit around and drink ale with. I think
they're kind of bored.
Yeah.
They are very bored.
I'm glad they're okay. I was worried about them being tangled and drowning or something.
Also, to put your mind at ease, entanglement spell only lasts a minute, and we did leave them there, yeah.
Okay.
Does my curse of empathy, is it always active?
Always active, yep.
And to what extent do I feel other people's emotions or just...
Only suffering.
Only suffering.
When the Furbolg were trapped, it felt more like a betrayal than any form of injury or pain.
What did we do it?
Antonina Ferryman says, "Oh my, I did not expect any confrontation. I was trying to get them to leave. I apologize. I didn't expect them to stay." Once the ferry leaves, the Furbolgs sit back down on the logs and question what to do now. They really don't know what to do.
Well, they've been working hard all day, so maybe they don't have a whole lot of motivation.
So we need to talk to Antonina about our mission to save the animals on the island.
Yep, you inquire about that. And she says, "We have a lot of supplies that come to the island, and there are goods that we produce in the mill that are sold in Emreth. I know they make shields from the Duskwood, but I didn't know all of what they make. By the time it gets to me, it's all in wooden crates. However, about a fortnight ago, you may remember that weather we were having. The water was rough, and I was pulling on the cargo nets when one of them, the crates, it started to talk to me. I not talking and not, I think, to me specifically, but something was putting ideas, feelings, and pictures in my head without words being said. It was more feelings. Scared, disoriented, worried about themselves.
Just going from the box?
Yeah, I was.
I didn't know.
It felt like something in the crate was speaking into my mind. It felt worried for someone else in the crate, but they weren't responding. I could see a jungle with lots of colorful birds around, but the sky was strange and it seemed like everything, even the mountains and trees, were under some sort of net. It, whatever it was, wanted to go back there. I wanted very much to open the crate, but I have passengers, the Knights of Tai. They're not real knights, they're more like security guards. Once they docked and loaded the crates into the carriage, not a cargo wagon, but a coach of some rich person.
Are there crates on the ferry now?
No, they unloaded them.
So how do we get across?
Currently, the ferry is slowly crossing the river. It's being moved by the current of the river, so no rowing or anything is needed. So she flipped the lever and you're slowly crossing.
Has she encountered anything like this again, or just the one time?
So far, just the one time. I've never experienced anything like this previously.
Obviously left a huge impact.
Where did the crate go?
Once it was loaded onto the coach, it headed towards Emreth. I have no clue where it went after that. The crates came from the estate house itself, but I can't imagine them keeping animals in there. It's where Lord Goodwin lives. I've only seen the upper part of the estate house once. I live in the servants' quarters in the Undercroft, which has a separate entrance. Lord Goodwin grows his wealth from the lumber trade, and Duskwood is quite valuable, but I fear that he's trafficking in exotic animals. If so, hopefully you can find some evidence, but at the same time, I'm hoping it was a singular instance rather than a routine. The Lord seems to be a decent man, but doesn't seem to care much about animals. Many otherwise decent people think animals exist only for our food or clothing, or to haul our burdens like the oxen you just saw. They also just flaunt animals as a sign of status. Before I came to Duskwood Estates, I lived in Emreth. Do you see how they ride griffins everywhere? It's vulgar.
Do you have any questions for the ferry operator?
I do.
Yeah.
I wanted to know if she knows anyone on the island that she trusts that might be able to give her more information about if there are any animals that are being potentially harmed, if there's any place that might make sense for them to be kept while they're captive, any information at all.
I wouldn't say so. The only people on the island are Lord Goodwin, his guards, the Knights of Tai, as well as, I'm not sure her real name. People on the island refer to her as the Green Witch.
The Green Witch, you say?
Tell me more about the Green Witch.
All I know is she is the one who is helping Lord Goodwin with growing the trees. She's some form of magic user, but that's all I really know. I've never met her in person.
Have the Duskwoods been present for as long as you remember?
For as long as I remember.
I would like to ask the ferryman if we need to be in hiding now that we're getting to the island. Do we need to be in fear of anything?
At this late at night, probably no. It's just a lumber mill. We don't really get intruders, so the guards are quite lazy. Stay clear of the manor, and you most likely won't run into anyone.
Can we do a perception check towards the Duskwood?
Yeah, definitely.
It's a 20.
Support's on about 16.
16. There is a path towards the castle-looking manor. It is on the highest point of the island. There are still some light shining through some of the windows, but most of them are dark. It's not quite full dark, but all of you have dark vision, so the dark isn't too big of a deal for you, though it is in grayscale. You cannot see color. You've arrived at the dock by now.
So they can get out and start exploring.
Yeah, if you would like. As you arrive, Antonina says, do what you have to do. I'll be waiting here at the dock. I'll try to remain hidden, but I'll be here for when you return. Try not to cause too much trouble.
It's in the immediate area where we've docked.
Yeah.
It is a simple dock with the tower with the cables going across. There are no guards here at the moment.
Do the guards have any special powers themselves? Like you were talking about this night vision, or do they have extra good hearing or anything like that?
No, unless there are any guards of any race that might have dark vision.
Does Antonina know if any of the guards are non-human?
They come and go. I don't even know if I've seen all of them. There's maybe 6 of them. I mean, like I said, it's just a lumber baron. He doesn't really need much protection. He also has another security system. As you step off a ferry and walk up to the dock, she says, would anyone be able to lend me a gold piece for a second?
Do I have any gold?
You would all have gold. If you'd like to offer her gold.
Sure.
Sure.
Do I just flick it to her?
Yep. Antonina takes her gold piece to a short statue at the edge of the ferry's dock. The copper shrine is in the shape of a mermaid holding aloft an open scallop shell, to which Antonina places the gold piece and takes a step back. You see a patch of rippling waves of the river seem to change direction and surges towards the shrine. Antonina amuses herself with your reactions as the water forms into a snake, whose rearing head takes the coin into its mouth and visibly swallows it. You watch as the gold piece sliding down its watery gullet as the water elemental, looking at each of you in turn, slides back and reforms into the river. The water weird doesn't actually spend money, but it really likes shiny stuff. I usually give it a silver piece, but it seems in our best interest I should be in a good mood tonight. The good news is also the bad news, though. It won't attack unless the alarm horn is sounded. The other upside, ever since the Green Witch summons this elemental from the plane of water to protect the island shoreline, Lord Goodwin hasn't felt the need of a lot of nighttime security. The one thing to worry about is Granicus. Why the Knights of Kai call her the Green Witch is easy to see, as she has green skin. And it always feels like she's reading your mind. My dad says that she uses magic to make the Duskwood seedlings grow faster. The majority of the island is used for the lumbering, but there is one part of the island that is never cut down, and I'm not sure why. It's near the Lord's estate, so that might be the reason, but I don't see Lord Goodwin keeping any animals within his estate itself.
Could I ask her where she thinks there might be some animals that we could perhaps speak with?
What type of animals? Local critters?
Yes.
Roll a perception check. Roll a d20 and add your perception modifiers.
So I rolled 20 and I add 5.
Oh, perfect. Natural 20. So, as you look around, you do see an owl sitting in one of the Duskwood trees.
I would like to speak with the owl.
The owl is up in a tree about 100 feet away, if you'd like to approach it.
Is that animal friendship or animal speak?
If you'd like to cast a spell, such as speak with animals.
Well, I'd like to do that because that's like a lifelong dream.
As you approach, I would like you to roll a animal handling check as to try to not spook the owl.
That's animal handling in a vegan
Mafame,
way.
are you going to be doing it as well?
What am I doing?
So if you could roll a 20-sided die and add your animal handling skill.
So I rolled a 9 and plus 5.
All right. And you rolled
10.
plus 3. So as you cast Speak with Animals, what would you like to say to it?
Oh, well,
Since the owl is flying around, I would assume they would be aware of any weird goings on, and I would just like to know if they know anything about any animals being captured.
So as you ask that, the owl goes, "Whoo," as it looks over towards the estate. I'm not sure what it is, but it's in the patch of trees that never get cut down. It looks like a big rock, but it was see-through. There are things inside, but that's all I could tell.
moving things? How many questions can we ask?
You can talk to it for up to 10 minutes.
Oh, dear kind owl, could you please lead the way and make sure you can watch out for us, that no one's coming?
I would like you to roll a persuasion check.
Oh, this big
Mrs.
one?
Bard. Probably the best person in the party to make persuasion checks.
8.
8 plus 8 to your persuasion. 16? That's good enough. Without another word, the owl takes flight from the tree and starts heading towards Duskwood Estate.
Oh.
The owl circles around to see if you're following. Would you like to follow?
Yes, please.
As you continue to follow it, it moves closer towards Duskwood Estate and then eventually takes a hard right and flies over this patch of densely packed woods. You are presented with a dense wall of both Duskwood trees and thorns blocking your path, but the owl lands on one of the trees nearby and says this is where he saw it. There are a ton of bushes, thorns, a whole bunch of foliage that you can travel through, but it will be difficult. So we're going through?
Everyone wants to go through?
Everyone's in agreement?
Yep, let's go through.
All right.
Am I able to sense any suffering?
You don't even have to concentrate. It is something that is always happening to you. You don't feel any suffering in the sense of pain, but you feel longing, a feeling of such as missing a loved one. Taking shape through the trees is a great dome, perhaps 100 feet across. Its frame is constructed of polished beams of the same Duskwood trees that otherwise obscure it from view. The crisscross geometry of the frame is inset with triangles of glass that presumably seal out the elements except light. It seems to be a greenhouse of some architectural style you've never seen. The tall Duskwood trees form an interlocking canopy that would obscure the dome from observation from above, yet permit some degree of sunlight. I assume you approach?
Yeah.
All right.
I want to, yeah.
Approaching the dome structure, you could see that it's filled with tropical trees and exotic plants, set amongst a landscape of natural stone formations. Even in the dim light, you can tell that the plants are colorful, broad-leafed, and tropical. Flying between these trees appear to be brightly hued birds, perhaps parrots of the jungles of Chult. You spot more of them on the branches, nested in the hollows of the rock outcroppings, and their movements belie that these are birds at all. One of them notices you and swoops to land in front of the glass plane. It is a dragon. Less than a foot from nose to tail, it turns its head and seems to vocalize, though you cannot hear anything through the glass. Other miniature dragons swoop in to examine you.
Those baby dragons?
If anyone would like to roll an Arcana check to figure out what these are.
Who's good at Arcana?
Who's the best
That's
person to
wizard,
roll?
probably, right?
I would say Quinn Asherism, yes.
Yeah. I got a 12 plus 5. 17.
Alright, that'll be enough. So, as you take a look at these creatures, you see and immediately recognize them as pseudo-dragons. While they might look like baby dragons, they are actually a breed of just small dragon. These appear to be even smaller than any you've potentially seen. You know that they grow up to about 3 feet from head to tail. These are about 1 foot from head to tail, so they are either especially small pseudo-dragons or potentially juvenile.
Maybe you could
They're trapped inside
try
this
to
dome.
break the dome.
Now, how would they do in the wild, though? I always worry about. I want to know if they could survive outside of the dome, or if we'd have to make some kind of accommodation for them.
As part of that Arcana check, you would know that they're not native to around here, as with many of the dragon kind, and they have the ability to communicate telepathically with people and typically form strong bonds with those who treat them right.
They were probably what I was sensing.
Most likely.
Yeah. Is there a way into the dome without breaking anything?
You circle the dome and you don't see any entrance to it.
So you might have to break it.
It's made partially out of trees, right?
Mm-hmm.
Druid could maybe form a door.
It is made out of wood, not actual trees.
Yeah.
What would you like to do?
I have a chisel and a hammer.
All right.
I would like to chisel my way in, but I'd like to keep the opening small. I don't want the dragons getting out and possibly becoming an invasive species, ruining the local.
Or they could also be, harmed. They couldn't survive, maybe.
It sounds like exotic pet trades going on here. I'm not a fan. So let's get in there.
All right. If you would like, you can make a Mason Tools check to try to remove one of the panes of glass. So you could roll a d20 plus dexterity.
I got a 20.
That's 20? Easy.
Wow,
so,
heavy roll.
Nice.
just so happens that the pane of glass that you choose, you get ready to hammer in your chisel and you tap it once and you hear a scraping of glass as you notice that this pane is actually loose within the frame. So you pull it out from the wooden frame and you are able to enter the dome.
Do any of the pseudo-dragons try to play out?
As you take off the pane of glass, the pseudo-dragons peer out. Surprisingly, they don't seem interested in the outside world. They feel much more comfortable within the dome.
Can we telepathically tell them, get on top of us and we'll take you on the boat and we'll get you somewhere safe?
Let's ask them. They don't feel like leaving, but they do feel lonely. So maybe the problems...
They just don't know that there's a better world for them.
Could be.
They're used to captivity.
Do you have
Stockholm
to
syndrome.
communicate with them? Or are they just open to talking to us?
Pseudo-dragons are able to communicate telepathically with you, not through language, but through those thought shapes that Antonina was feeling. Do any of you enter the dome? You enter the dome? All right. Would everyone like to follow?
Yes, I would.
All right. So as you enter the dome, you see a canopy of faintly glowing glass panes that etch the sky above the corroded cliffs and lush flora. Familiar natural sounds reach your ears as your head crests the threshold of the dome. You experience a sensation like diving upward into water, experiencing a magical field within. Sight and sound is suddenly complemented with the thought shapes of a dozen of these inquisitive dragon minds. The young pseudo-dragons demonstrate a range of personalities from shy to bold, curious, or aloof. They project the thought shapes directly into your head that not only are comprehensible, but would convey thoughts and emotions more clearly than speech were they not happening simultaneously, like a dozen conversations at a cocktail party. There's much assessment and forming of opinions as to the nature of your intrusion.
Are we generally welcome? Is anybody upset?
No one seems upset. They are more so just curious as to these newcomers. So as you are attempting to speak with the pseudo-dragons, you hear...
Who are you?
To you, it seems loud in the room, as it makes you start to look about. But as soon as you realize nobody else seems to have heard it, you realize that the voice spoke directly into your mind. It's definitely not the excited, scattered babble of the pseudo-dragons, but rather a voice without language that resolves in your head, raw meaning without words. The presence has mental tones that feel female, but not quite human. It's like being in the mind of a lizard, but one that might just be smarter than you. You look at each of your companions, and you feel the mental hijacker counting them. You stop looking at them and lock your eyes on the incubator instead.
Do not disturb the eggs. What is it that you want?
You feel the intruder's thoughts digging deeper, trying to find the answer herself. I would like you to roll a wisdom saving throw.
I rolled a 13, but my wisdom's 10.
You have a bonus of 0, so it'd just be a flat 13. So you fail. You feel this presence dig deeper as she begins to look around within your mind to figure out what you are doing.
You intend to take my babies away? I see it in your mind. But you are not looters or rivals.
No, we're vegans.
We're something far more dangerous.
She can tell that they're vegan.
Maybe she doesn't know what it is.
She can read all of your thoughts, your personalities, your intentions. You feel her dig right to the core of your mind, and you can tell that she knows everything.
I am Granicus. These dragons are under my care, wardship, tutelage, and protection.
A figure steps into view, a slender woman wearing a loose-fitting sash and pantaloons. Her ears are long and pointed, her skin the color of avocado flesh, with a pattern of brown speckles around her eyes. Surely you gaze upon the Green Witch of Duskwood Estates, unarmed, but casually exhibiting a posture of a martial arts master. What would you like to do?
Can we persuade her?
If anyone would like to roll a general intelligence check.
Who's intelligence? That's the wizard would probably be best, right?
Yep.
Smarty
Anyone's-
pants wizard.
Who's the wizard?
I got a 22.
Easy.
Nice.
So, in part of your studies, you actually learned about these. This woman before you is a Gith, specifically a Gith Zerai. The Gith were a psionic race that were enslaved by mind flayers and eventually gained their freedom. They were unfortunately split up amongst ideologies, the Gith Zerai taking a more peaceful approach to heal themselves from their enslavement, whereas the Gith Yankee decided to become a warring and pirating race that terrorizes all parts of the world. The Gith Zerai, however, decide to take in residence in the plane of Limbo. The Gith Zerai are very uncommon to see on the prime material plane where you live.
These dragons do not crave the liberation you offer. Our dome is the only world they know. Is it not wonderful? I care for their every need. We have forged a mutually beneficial arrangement with the pseudo-dragons, who are protected from the ravages of the wild.
And anyone is allowed to jump in for conversation with Granicus, the Green Witch, who's before you.
Well, I think they should have the choice and to take their chances if they so choose, right?
How did they come into your care?
I am a Githzerai, and I am adept at communicating with the pseudo-dragons with my mind. I sense when they are in discomfort and tend to their needs. Our connection allows me to train them to deliver messages and packages between the tall towers of Imrath. This is a valuable service to the castle owners, so they are treated well.
Well treated slaves.
Now, I have a condition. I suffer from empathy. And I'm feeling a lot of longing, loneliness. You know, they're not in pain, but clearly they could be happier.
Something's missing.
What say you?
They're all small, right?
Of the ones you can
Missing
see,
their mummies?
Oh, that's true. Why are they so small? Huh?
I am taking care of the youngling right now. If they were out in the wild, they would be eaten or worse.
Are they spayed?
I am giving them everything that they need.
Are they neutered?
No, I don't believe in neutering.
So they're just breeding in here? You're just bringing more in to suffer in this dome, this artificial...
It's mutually beneficial. They give us what we want when we need them, and in the meantime, they live this wonderful life.
All right, I'm going to ask the pseudo-dragons how they feel.
Yeah, ask them that question.
Is she telling the truth?
As you try to communicate with one of the pseudo-dragons, it lands before you on a rock that you're standing next to, and it peers at you, head tilted. You feel these thought shapes in your mind as surprisingly strong feelings of love, and they feel protected by this Githzerai, but they still feel that sense of longing.
Is that where we should end it?
Unfulfilled.
We can. We are out of time.
Yeah.
There's plenty more.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The stories and everything. You really get right into that moment. I wow.
But clearly, it's gotten to a point where it's challenging the concepts of animal welfare versus animal liberation.
Yes.
They're saying they're well taken care of, so everything's good, but they're trained to serve the people in this city.
I don't know about that.
We were hoping this one shot would be completed in the hour and a half, but what we want to do is to create a whole module that's going to incorporate not just this type of story, which obviously I'm not going to give away, but so far it's looking like some type of a open rescue or some type of rescue. But, you know, we want to do things like bearing witness and other types of rescues. There's so many more stories in this fantasy realm.
You just draw from real situations.
Exactly. Bring everything that we do in the animal rights movement into this fantasy. And so that is our personal passion and what we're going to be continue working on. And we love to collaborate, and we're looking for collaborators. We're looking for artists. We're looking for people who want to play, particularly DMs as well, who want to host it like Ethan's doing. You can find us on social media. We're Vegan D&D, and we're going to be hosting weekly events here in Wishbone. So anyone who's watching from Toronto will join us.
We're anticipating that a lot of vegans have never played Dungeons & Dragons before. Now there's a vegan option, so we'll be having training sessions both online and in person to get everybody on board and rescue these pseudo-dragons.
I love it because you're tapping into this kind of niche market that never gets addressed, right? These, gamers.
Yeah.
So look for us on social media. We're at Vegan D&D, and our organization is going to be called Play Nice Games. It's both a welcoming name and also a command. Play Nice Games.
Play nice.
We've got our next guest here.
I'm going to segue. We would love to stream our sessions on Unchained TV.
Yes.
So once we get this popular,
I love it. More content, the better.
we'll be the vegan critical role.
As long as it's not a copyright violation, I'm all for it. I guess we'd have to look into that legally, right? I would love to. It sounds great. Or maybe a discussion with all of you about why you're doing it and how it happened.